To another episode of Buckets Battles. Today we have a highly requested video, Damian Lillard versus Kyrie Irving. The three main categories we look at are bucket generating being the main category. We also look at team value and impact, and then we're going to look at defense and rebounding. We're going to start with the bucket generating category. Again, the factors we look at for this category are scoring, playmaking, efficiency, IQ/decision making, and shooting. And in this bucket generating category, I'm going to give the edge to Damian Lillard. And if you look at his 2019-2020 stats up to this point, he's given you 49 points a game in total, 29 points off of his scoring, 19 points off of his assists. He has a 55 effective field goal percentage. He shoots 52% from the 2-point line. He shoots 39% from downtown. He's an 89 free throw shooter with 8 assists a game and just 3 turnovers. He has the ball in his hands for 8.6 minutes a game. Contrary to that, we look at Kyrie Irving. Kyrie was giving you 41 points a game. We're not going to look at this past season because he only played 20 games. We're going to look at the season prior, the 2018-2019 season when he was with the Boston Celtics. And in this season, he gave you 41 points a game in total, 24 off of his scoring, 17 off of his assists. He had a 56 effective field goal percentage. He had a 53 2-point percentage, 40% from downtown, 87% from the free throw line, 7 assists a game, just 3 turnovers, and he had the ball in his hands significantly less at 5.5 minutes a game. If we look at the skill set comparison, Damian Lillard is the better playmaker. He's the better passer. He's better at getting his teammates shots. In terms of the shooting and the efficiency, it's near even. Dame just has more range on his jump shot, and he's more athletic around the basket. I would also say a big advantage for Damian Lillard is he's more of an off-ball threat. He knows how to move without the basketball, and his presence on the court coming off of screens, being able to shoot, he's more willing to be an off-ball player than Kyrie Irving, who likes to have the ball in his hands a little bit more. Although with Boston, he wasn't really given the opportunity to have the ball in his hands quite like Dame has with Portland, he is still a guy that does a lot of his work off the isolation, off pick and roll, etc. Kyrie Irving has a better handle. He's more crafty, more finesse to his game. He's a more individually skilled basketball player. But overall, when we talk about impact on a team, the stuff that Damian Lillard brings to the table with playmaking while still being able to score, being able to shoot from range, and being an off-ball threat, I'm going to give that edge in the bucket generating category to Damian Lillard. When we look at team impact and value, I'm also going to give this advantage to Damian Lillard. He just led the Blazers to the Western Conference Finals last season. His team usually consistently overachieves, despite this season, which has really been decimated by injuries, and they're battling to even make the NBA playoffs this year. That hasn't taken away from Dame and his impact on the Portland Trail Blazers this year. The Blazers with Dame have a +1 net rating, and without Dame, they've been -7. So with all these injuries, with guys in and out of the lineup, Damian Lillard has still come to play, and he still had a huge impact on this team, making them a positive impact team despite being so far negative when he's off the court. And we look at last year, the year that they went to the Western Conference Finals, they were a +8 net rating with Damian Lillard on the court, and they were a -7 as well without Dame last year. So they can't really function at the same level, even though they do have another guy, CJ McCollum, who can get buckets. They can't function at the same level without Damian Lillard. We look at the Celtics. When Kyrie was with the Celtics last year, there was really a misconception that Kyrie Irving makes his team worse, blah, 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 that the Celtics were somehow better without Kyrie. They did have a +6 net rating when Kyrie was on the court versus a +2 net rating when he was off the court. Obviously not the same gap as it is with Damian Lillard and the Portland Trail Blazers, but Kyrie did have a positive impact on the Boston Celtics basketball team. Obviously, he was their best player, and he really should have had the ball in his hands more. He really should have been able to make more decisions for that Celtics team, but he just wasn't given those reins. They had a lot of other guys. It was just a weird mix when you talk about having young guys that want to get their shine, want to get their numbers, and feel like they're better or farther along in their process of their career than they actually were. And then you have veterans that are also taking in some of those minutes. Guy like Gordon Hayward coming off of injury. You had Marcus Morris in there. So there's just a weird mix of guys. A lot of talent on that squad, but just the chemistry and the fit wasn't exactly there. It wasn't just Kyrie's fault, but Kyrie can take some responsibility for that as the leader of the basketball team, not letting them play to their max potential. You definitely could put a little bit of that on the superstar. But in the team impact value category, I'm going to give the advantage to Damian Lillard. because last year the Boston Celtics, they went out pretty quickly in the second round of the playoffs. I know they were playing a really, really good Milwaukee team, but Kyrie was injured the previous year and didn't get to lead the Celtics to what probably a lot of people think would have been an NBA Finals appearance, but we don't really know how far a team could go with Kyrie as the best player. We know Dame could take the Blazers to at least the conference finals, and they usually overachieve, and he's just so important to what that team does. So I'm going to give the team impact and value advantage to Damian Lillard. And then we look at the final category, defensive rebounding. For these players, this is really not important at all. Neither is good enough on that end of the floor to give them a clear advantage. They're both skilled offensive assassins who can give you possessions here or there of good defense, but that's not really what they're out there to do. Those guys are out there to get buckets, they're out there to play make, and they're out there to bring their team home with shot after shot or passing, things like that. But they're not really going to come in and lock you down on defense with all the responsibility that they have on the offensive side of the ball. So in conclusion, as close as they are offensive players, I mean, I think Damian Lillard is the more impactful player when we're talking about 5-on-5 offense. When we're talking about individual skill, we're talking about one-on-one, I will definitely take Kyrie Irving, and Kyrie is still impactful and valuable to the 5-on-5 game. I'd say he's better suited as a second option, and we saw that in the NBA Finals next to LeBron James. He was able to get buckets and hit big-time shots. He was actually one of the best closers in all of basketball. Like, Kyrie Irving is extremely clutch, and we know what he can do on the big stage. We know he can impact 5-on-5 basketball. And when people say that he's better suited as a second option to try to diminish Kyrie Irving, I mean, that's just the reality for a lot of superstar players. Like, Damian Lillard would be a lot better off as a second option. Do we really think Damian Lillard could be the best player in a championship team? I don't at this point in time. So Damian Lillard would probably be better suited as a number 2 as well. Even a guy like Anthony Davis went from the New Orleans Pelicans, where he couldn't really win anything. Yes, he wasn't surrounded with really many pieces, and they were in and out of the lineup when it came to injuries and stuff. But Anthony Davis is not really your ideal number 1 option either, and he's the best big man in all of basketball. So saying that you're not going to be able to be the best player in a championship team, there's only a handful of guys that could be the best player on a championship team. You're looking at really LeBron James, Kawhi Leonard, Stephen Curry, and Kevin Durant. So, and maybe you throw in Giannis Antetokounmpo in that mix. That's really like 5 guys. Those are the top tier, upper echelon guys that can be the best player in a championship team. So I'm not going to slight Kyrie saying that he can't be the best player in a championship team. That's just the reality of the situation, and Dame would probably be the same way. If he was in a better situation on a better team as a number 2, that team would be very, very lethal. But in conclusion, I'm going to take Damian Lillard over Kyrie Irving, although I love both players and what they bring to the table. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Let me know in the comment section below what player comparison you want to see next. Subscribe for more content. Thank you.